All right. How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the Essential Credentials, episode 78. I am one of your hosts, Matt. Really excited to be back here. We are coming up on a pretty exciting time here at the end of the month. We've got 2 shows planned before we all embark. Well, not all of us, most of us embark off to the National. And then we thought we would come on here and talk about a few things we've been chatting about over the last couple of weeks. And to do that, we have a birthday boy coming on, but he's still not here. So before he gets here, we've got Ryan in the house with probably the best setup. I thought mine was good, Ryan. You have blown me out of the water, man. Nice work.
Just something I put together really fast.
Oh, yeah, okay. Mr. Humble there. But good to have you on here, man. Obviously got some good 90s flavor going on behind you. And there's a bit of an impulse purchase behind you there too, hidden if anybody can find it.
Yeah.
It's exciting stuff though, man. We're excited.
Most of these are impulse purchases.
Oh, that is a good point. And then Will and I are wearing our respective hats. I hope the Rays have at least tied it. We just got done. I just got done watching Tyler Glasnow pitch. Had to leave with a hand cramp, so he's okay. Will tried to give me a heart attack by saying it's worse, but thankfully he's wrong. So, Will, how's it feel to be wrong about that?
First of all, I'd like to quote my text to you, and it was simply, "Uh-oh." I didn't say it was bad. I didn't say his head fell off. I just said, "Uh-oh."
You can't uh-oh me in a Glasnow start. You can uh-oh me all you want when he's not pitching, but I'm already on the edge of my seat hoping he doesn't get hurt every single time he goes out. But welcome, Will. It's great to have you here, man. We're pretty excited too because we're hoping to get your brother on next episode. But yeah, glad to have you here, man. And then if we had the happy birthday song, we'd be playing it right now. But sadly, I don't have it queued up. But there he is, Mr. Birthday Boy himself. Jeremy, how you doing, dude?
Not too bad.
Man, I meant to dig my party hats out of the back of the pantry and wear one before we started. Totally forgot.
Yeah.
No. Anyways,
people were over, so that's why I kind of had to wait a little bit. Couldn't get them out of the house.
Did you tell them truthfully why you needed them to get out of the house, though?
I did, but also I quickly learned that my house is not kid-proof.
Well, take a look at our 3, me and Ryan and Will. That does not scream kid-proof in any way.
Some of those stuff are at least up off the ground. I've got like guitars laying on the ground and all kinds of expensive equipment on the ground. And my son,
happy birthday, man.
My brother's kids are just running around. He turns into a dinosaur and just starts destroying everything, throwing things off the counters, and
So next we're going to see the A-Rod holographics flying across the room in one touch, huh? Well, happy to have you here. Happy to have a 4-man crew for tonight. I'm going to show everybody what we're going to be covering. I thought it would be fun to make a little bit of a graphic, kind of make it a little more exciting. That way we can kind of follow a bit of not a rubric per se, but a schedule, keep us on point here. So Will decided it would be great to kind of check in on our mid-year collecting goals. I think some of us have achieved some of those goals that we were hoping to accomplish, and then some of us maybe, are a little bit off or changing kind of what we had thought we were going to do. So it'll be fun to talk about that. And then we're going to talk about some of the sketch cards that, I know they've kind of been popping up a little bit in other products. A lot of Star Wars sketches are really popular, but having purchased my first one of Tyler Glasnow, which I didn't think that would ever happen, and getting to talk to the artist a little bit, and like, okay, what's the future of this beyond just sketch cards? Are we going to see more artistic cards? Like, go back to Topps Gallery with, those original art cards. What is it, Peter Max? Do I have that name right with those?
Yeah.
So kind of looking at maybe a potential for that, especially when Fanatics takes over. We all know that's inevitably coming sooner than we probably want. And then Ryan, Professor Molinax, is going to step in and talk about the psychology behind collecting. He's been reading a really fascinating book that we've kind of been talking about a bit. And I know that Ryan's really excited to dive or maybe scratch the surface on, why do we do what we do as hobbyists? Because I think so many of us are kind of like just, going through it, enjoying our time, but never really stop to think about it. So it's going to be fun to talk about that. And then we're going to show everybody on here something that you're all going to get addicted to. We're all addicted to it. It was everything we could all do to not do it today. Something called the Immaculate Grid. And we are going for 9 for 9 today. We've got 4 brilliant minds here. So hopefully we can do that. I'm excited to do that. And then we'll end. Yeah. Yeah. We got Will here and for all the Hall of Famers, and Ryan for all the non-Hall of Famer vintage guys, and me and Jeremy for 90s on. I think we're good. So and then we'll show like a pickup or two from June that we're pretty excited about. And then we'll maybe close it off with some derby picks. I think we all know who I'm going to be picking, but I'm curious to hear what everybody else says. So, hey, look at this. Not only does Tyler say that love the Immaculate Grid, hey dudes, we've also got today was easiest one yet. So we should be, no pressure or anything, right?
I'm sure I could prove that wrong.
Yeah, I was going to say, I listen to the Starkville podcast every week, which is really good. And at the end of every episode, they do like a listener trivia question where you can submit a question through Twitter or email or whatever.
Right.
And then you get to go on the show, on the podcast, and ask your question. But like the catchphrase that Jason always says, that he goes, we will prove once again there is no baseball trivia question we cannot get wrong. So I'm fully expecting us to get stumped, and the answer be Homer Bush, who played for the Yankees and the Blue Jays.
No.
Maybe if it's
That's
Yankees and Blue Jays today,
if we get Yankees Blue Jays, Homer Bush has to be in there. Nobody else.
0.2%.
Oh yeah, I want a 0.1% today.
That the Joey Cora, the 0.8, that was my lowest, and I've used them twice for the same like Mariners Indians. It's crossed over a couple times. So I think I got like Mariners Indians or All-Star Mariners, and of course, Joey's the first one I put in there. So anyhow, yes, and of course if you're on Instagram, Tyler's a huge Drummond collector, great great personality for the hobby. He always puts some food for thought out there that makes you go, okay, hold on a second. So definitely check him out. So let's talk about our mid-year collecting goals. I mean, Ryan, I think, was probably the most thorough. We all know that as far as like getting his list of goals and crossing stuff off and all this and whatnot. But I think we all kind of came into this. Yeah, his notes. We all kind of came into this year with a goal in mind. Jeremy is in a really good spot with his A-Rod collection. He's got just the big ones left, more or less. Will's kind of just chipping away at some Ripkins, finding some Hall of Fame autos, which we've talked about. Myself, I got a visual want list on my website, just trying to pick some off. And then for Ryan, you had some pretty specific goals in mind, especially from your videos. So I'll start with you, Professor Molinix. Thinking about your goals, about what they were when the year started and where you're at now. Can you give us like 2 or 3 bullet points? Like how have things been going for you?
Yeah, I mean, I like to be diversified in what I'm doing anyway when I'm collecting. I think we'll talk about it a little bit more as we kind of get into the psychology of things a little bit, but it kind of gets stale. We've talked about, chasing one player or one sport or one set, and you kind of like a little bit of variety in your collection. So that helped me kind of think about the goals for the year. So as the year started off, I came out on fire. Like I think I've checked off 5 of my top 25 Lopez cards, which is great. And 2 of them are top 5 for my, most wanted list. So I was able to pick up the Star Rubies and the Elite Prize the Donruss Elite Prize. Which one was it? The Elite, yeah. Sorry. Yeah, it's like print around like 220, something like that.
Right.
Those 2 were massive. But other parts of that was just like organization, kind of getting things settled in. And there were some specific things that I wanted to focus on, but they were more or less things like I put down as these are ideas of things that I want to kind of see happen. They may not happen exactly like this, but these are like the general goals of what I want to see happen with my display. So I've been able to do a little bit more with that, change a lot of that out, but I'm still like want to pick up some displays for some autographed bats that I've got. I've got some things I want to get out of here, and I've started back selling on eBay again, a lot of cards, and I've kind of been very okay with just letting a lot of stuff go that I'm not worried about top dollar, because I mean, if it's a card that really needs to bring what it should bring market value, yes, but I've got a lot of cards that I'm still selling off from that big collection that, I'm okay with selling it 20% less than maybe what it's going for, because I have there's so much bulk, and that's really helped open up some space to do that. We had a yard sale recently, and I've sold a bunch of stuff at a
Nice.
yard sale. So
Nice.
that was pretty good. So just trying to get those things organized. So I've been able to do that. Checked off a couple of my contenders autographs for my Alabama player list and got that knocked out. So the goal was like specific. Like I want to pick up 2 contenders. I want to pick up at least 2 Derrick Henry case hits, and I'm at like 7. So that the momentum kind of picked up with him. Specifically with like Hank Aaron, I wanted to grab the 58 and the 59 tops in a PSA that's in a range that is, price where I'm comfortable at. So was able to pick up the 59 recently. So I was very happy with that. So, just kind of having those defined goals that are pretty specific for me helps me not kind of stray and do, things like this and just kind of rando go after stuff. But because I love that kind of stuff so much, you can't like not go after something like that if it's part of just things that you love and enjoy as a hobby, right? It's
right.
So it's been good. I mean, the time that I took off, even though I wasn't buying a lot of stuff, I was downsizing to things because I wasn't in the mindset to collect, but I was definitely in the mindset to get rid of some things. So stuff that I was trying to figure out, like, do I sell this? Do I figure out how to bulk this out? I was like, sayonara. Like it went to Goodwill and it went to, some other places because there was no way I was ever going to be able to do anything with it. So
right.
I'm in a good place right now, I think, with aligning my goals for the end of the year. It kind of came out hot, kind of backed off, but I'm doing pretty well with it right now. So the organization side's great. The YouTube side of it, I'm not even looking at that as a goal right now. Not because I don't want to do it. It's just time. I mean, that's just if I can't do it the way I want to do it, it's not going to spend the time and effort.
Well, and you have to be inspired to do it too. I'm in the same boat. I have all these great ideas of things that I want to do, but as any of us content creators know, this kind of a thing is easy, right? You just kind of hop on here, you talk cards. We can do that, not live. The 4 of us can just sit around and talk cards. But I think it takes a lot of time and effort, not just the recording, but the editing and the posting and making sure it's exactly how you want it. So but that's good. I mean, especially with how hot you came out of the gate there, it's good that you've been able to kind of find a middle ground. I should say a Middle Earth. But, I think Jeremy like that one. But, I think it's all ebbs and flows every single year. So it's good to kind of balance things out.
Well, we start off with goals at the beginning of the year, and then things like that come up, like product releases that you may not anticipate or expect, or really because you're focusing on sports, but then something comes up in a TCG or a trading card game, something like that shows up, and you're like, oh wow, I love Lord of the Rings, Middle Earth stuff, and this has got to go on my list of goals. But it's not necessarily a huge deviation from what I'm doing, and I can always kind of go back to that list and go, okay, you said you wanted to update your display. Well, you've done that a little bit, but you don't need to spend so much time chasing the one ring. You need to focus on, maybe, buying some more pro mode one touches instead of recycling ones or stuff having to cycle in and out to go into the display. So
I like it. Great. Well, it sounds like you're in a pretty good place, and we're going to come back. We're going to do one question after we kind of talk about where we're at. So awesome. Appreciate the update there, Ryan. So, Will, how about you? I know it's, again, just like Jeremy, kind of slowly picking stuff up, and you've got your Hall of Fame set that you're working on just in general. How do you feel about how your year started?
Yeah, the year's been good. Before I get too deep into it, I'm going to let everybody know I do have a new foster puppy at my house right now who's 6 months old, and my wife is not here right now. So she's not here to distract her. So if you see me looking to my left, or if you see my arm moving, that's just her biting me and chomping me, and me just trying to keep her from barking. So apologies if I spend most of this on mute. So she's already been barking a lot. She barks when she's ignored. But,
she wants to be involved, man. I don't blame her. She wants to be involved in the podcast.
You can kind of see the laundry hamper I have blocking the bottom of the card display. But, and here's Dexter. Okay, you need to be entertaining her. So yeah, my year's been good. As the years go on, there's less and less Ripken stuff to be had. I know Jeremy's kind of in that same boat where it's like, as you get them, there's less to go get, you know. But the Hall of Fame auto thing has been a lot of fun. I accidentally bought 2 counterfeits this year, which thankfully I learned about in time to get refunds for. Just so everybody knows, the 2000 SP Chirography Sandy Koufax is rampant forgeries out there. You can tell because they're all off-centered on the front or on the back. And then the 2003 Topps, I forget what set it was, but it was a Willie Mays autograph, and it also has rampant forgeries out there. I guess like a bunch of unsigned ones got backdoored out, and they're out forging the stamp, like the Topps certified autograph stamp and the autograph. So I learned a lot about spotting forgeries this year. It was really good.
Unfortunately,
if you buy a Topps autograph and it's got the foil stamp on the front, look for the stars, because I found a lot of times the stars aren't perfectly aligned. Like the first two will be a little bit crooked, and then the rest of them will be good. And then the text of the word autograph is also too fat. Like all the letters touch, and all the letters should be independent of each other.
Interesting.
So that was good. But I picked one up just this week, and that put me at 50% of on-card Hall of Fame autos. So I'm at like 60, 64, I think, something like that. Maybe there's more than that, but yeah, I've got a pretty good chunk, and I've got one I can show off here at some point. And then this has always been a secret saved search of mine for non-sport, is I love professional wrestling. I live in the Carolinas. You know, pro wrestling is king. And yep. The problem is pro wrestling cards is basically high-end basketball. So I haven't bought anything.
Still couldn't believe those prices you sent me. I was just like, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it.
How many times have you jumped into something else like that going, you know, I'm going to save some money and go after XYZ? Like I thought when I got into Star Wars, like this is going to be like way cheaper.
Yeah.
And you're like,
I know. I remember looking for like a Stone Cold Steve Austin auto. And I thought, man, if these are like $60 a pop, I'm going to have like the whole Attitude Era roster. And I was like, oh, it's like more than I've ever spent for a card. Okay, never mind. I'm good.
Right.
I did.
Well, real quick to kind of add into that, did you decide like the Hall of Fame auto? Was that because things were so slow? Did that decision happen at the beginning of the year? Like this is a goal, or did it kind of come along as like the year started and you're like, man, like there's no momentum here. I need something to go for.
I don't know. It was kind of just one of those things that just it's like everything, every hobby, everything I do, it comes to me and I just go with it. I don't know.
Serial hobbyist.
I could have saved so much money this year because I've bought a bunch of Ripken stuff, but you know, not as much as years past. So it's like, man, I could have a nice bankroll going into the National right now, but I got obsessed with buying cheap Hall of Fame autographs. So,
how much of that though is you jump into that and you start like doing a lot of study and research about the players and you learn a lot more? Like I feel like that's a lot of my side PCs are parts of me expanding my knowledge about the history of the game or independence of play, you know, the different players or just the different areas. Like that's to me is one of the things I come back to is it's just getting a better understanding of the game itself or the eras, right? Like it's weird. Like this time of year, mid-July, getting near the All-Star break, like I get nostalgic for like the pre-war stuff, like just going back and watching the Ken Burns stuff or whatever. It's crazy.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, just building out the little checklist spreadsheet I made for the Hall of Fame autos, you know, just searching MLB Hall of Fame list. And you're just like, who the hell is this? Who is this? You know, what's the name they gave Shohei Ohtani? Tungsten Armo Doyle. It's like, who the hell is Tungsten Armo Doyle? Like, you know, all these guys, and it's like he played in 1984. He's not even that old. I've never heard of this guy. So that's been fun to kind of see, oh man, this guy was really good, or he's better than I thought he was. And there's a lot of sets too that I've learned about that had insane checklists that, you know, I guess when you focus on just one player for the most part, you kind of just go, all right, got my player from that set. Check. It's good. But then like you delve deeper and it's like, man, this checklist is huge. And it is deep, like just banger after banger, like stud Hall of Famer.
Don't say that name, that word, Will. Come on. We're better than that.
You don't like the word banger?
I feel like it's every, come on, somebody agree with me. I feel like it's every like early 20s, like mid-teen. That's what they say when a sweet card comes out of like a immaculate basketball box.
Oh,
Like,
am I sounding like a breaker? I'm sounding like a breaker.
Oh, Will, it's so sus, man.
I'm
Yeah. You're such a capper, Will. Knock it off.
Oh,
Jeez.
no.
All right, back to our regularly scheduled programming.
But yeah, it's been a fun year. I'm really looking forward to the national, and as the weeks have gotten closer and closer, I'm realizing I'm not going to buy a lot of baseball at the national. There's going to be stuff that I'm looking for, but like there's never been a lot of 90s baseball to begin with. But now I feel like I've got a bigger net to fish with this year. I've got more stuff that's interesting to me. There's certain pre-war cards, 1910, T210 Columbia Gamecocks. I've yet to buy one. I've been looking for them for 2-3 years now. I've only seen a couple. I'd love to find one. But then it's going to be wrestling Hall of Famers. I'm starting to expand out into just all Hall of Fames. Let me get some football Hall of Famers. Let me get some wrestling Hall of Famers. I think that'd be fun. And then I'm starting to think, I know Ryan's already talked about Lord of the Rings, and I am wearing this Gondor symbol. We're a bunch of Lord of the Rings marks in here. I'm thinking about trying to get a Lord of the Rings Fellowship auto set, like all the actors that were in the Fellowship. Try to put that together.
That's on my list.
I don't know how expensive that's going to be. I literally
tough.
thought of that this afternoon.
McKellen is like $800. It's up there,
Right.
especially if you go with that first set. Now you could go with the Chrome set, but
Well,
That's
maybe
pretty cool how we're all
maybe.
kind of headed in that direction, though, isn't it? I mean, pretty soon we just got to get Jeremy to jump ship into Star Wars with me or Marvel or something, because we all are headed in like that direction. It's so cool that we're all going down that path. But
I've had
I was
that
going to
closet
say,
PC
Ryan,
for a while.
one last thing
Okay.
is Ryan made me think of something from my childhood where he was talking about, I forget how you phrased it, Ryan, but you said like, you know, you're looking for your top 25 hobby wants. You've got these exact cards that you want, but then something just comes up. That Lord of the Rings collector's box comes up, or, you know, whatever. And it made me think of making my Christmas list as a kid. And it's like, okay, I want, you know, this football, I want this, whatever. But then my mom always said, you know, you should just put surprises on your list and just see what Santa brings you. And I was like, yeah, that's exactly what this is. You know, you got the exact cards you want, but then you just got to see what the card gods bring you. You just get you some surprises.
Yeah.
that's right. That's right. I like it though, man, because you want to have a little bit of excitement outside of the norm. You know, I think that's what we're all kind of headed to right now. We've been doing this for so long, you know, whether it's 90s baseball or even Flurry / A-Rod or Javi, you know, we need a little bit of something different, you know, within our realm. So that's cool to hear. Now Jeremy's been patiently waiting. We were joking. We don't want him to go over his quota. What is the Eddie Murphy movie called? I couldn't think of it.
I don't.
Still have it. But Jeremy, for you, you know, like obviously you had were all those big A-Rods at the beginning of this year? Can you guys remind me? I feel like they were, right? Or were they at the end of last year?
Mix, probably. I'm trying to remember.
Okay.
Trying to remember what I got recently.
Did you have any
half and half? Yeah.
half an hour? Okay. Well, did you have any specific goals going in, or do you just kind of like whatever pops up and see what happens?
Yeah, kind of just whatever pops up. I mean, I've got a top, I think it's down to about 8 obtainable cards that I can get. Right. And then a list of, you know, unicorn type cards that rarely pop up. I did cross off at least one of those recently.
Nice.
And kind of like Will, every time he posts something, or I'll think of something, kind of like you said, you think of something from your childhood. And so I always want to put together like autographed set of the Blake Street Bombers from the Rockies, because that's kind of where I grew up.
Nice.
For a little bit. And then always want to get kind of the Braves cards, because growing up from Georgia, you know, this is a great time of year or great teams during those years. So other things I've kind of always ventured off. I always sit there and I'll go through kind of like Ryan, and I look at a bunch of vintage stuff that I would ultimately like to add to the collection, a bunch of just, PSA 1, poor conditions, whatever you can find of, popular 50 sets or even older with Hall of Fame players, mainly people I'd liked for one reason or another. Yogi Berra, for some reason, was always one person that I always wanted to get a bunch of cards for. So I'll go through and add, 30 cards of his, and then the next week I'll delete them all. Then I'll go through and add a bunch of Shawn Michaels autos or something like that from wrestling and delete all those. Or, a soccer player that I always wanted to get an autograph of was Michael Ballack for kind of obvious reasons, but he also played for one of my favorite teams in the Premiership. So it's one of those things where I'm constantly adding things to the list. And then they'll sit there for a while until an A-Rod pops up that I want, and then I'll delete everything that's not A-Rod related.
We've all been there.
Kind of cycles back and forth. I haven't really pulled the trigger. I mean, after Will's, started the Hall of Fame autos, I started watching all kinds of different cards and sets, and they never were like $5 a piece, so I never started that. And that's kind of the same thing. I just start going down that road thinking I will buy into those, but I just haven't really, other than a couple packs of that Lord of the Rings set that Ryan was talking about.
Well,
did you find collector's packs, by the way? Just
never found collector's packs. I only went to about 2 different stores. There were 3 or 4 more I could have tried. I just didn't feel like driving.
Without getting too far off on a tangent, have they released the bundle boxes that's got the single collector's pack in it yet? Have you seen those?
Not yet. I think our other friend Will said that was late July, August, something like that.
For people that have no idea what you're talking about because they're normal functioning human beings, can you explain what we're talking about?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I don't even really know, other than Magic the Gathering sometimes likes to add other IPs into their cards. And recently they've chosen Lord of the Rings, Middle Earth. So cool artwork, cool foil cards. If you're into that kind of stuff.
I like it because it has nothing to do with Magic. It has everything to do with Middle Earth.
I have no idea how to play the game. I've played other like TCGs of Star Wars and Lord of the Rings in the past, but I have no clue how to play Magic. No intent of learning how to play Magic. I just enjoy the artwork.
Yeah. I walked into the the place we have called Gamers Guild, and I'm like, look, dude, this is what I'm looking for. You can tell I'm not like I don't play this game because I'm asking you questions. My kids collect Pokemon. I understand how those products are packed out. Is it simple? Like, give me the rundown so I know what I'm looking for.
Right.
And he was very kind. He was like, yeah, let me explain how it works. And he started talking about mechanics of the game, and I just completely went. Like, he started sounding like Charlie Brown's teacher.
Yeah.
I was like, And I was like, so do you have any boxes?
You got sucked right in, man. I definitely, I know the feeling. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. It's so funny that we all, as a group of friends, like we're all going through this similar experience. If you'd have said 3 years ago these things, you said, I mean, I know Ryan was already into it, but like Ryan and Will are going to get in, and Jeremy even are going to get heavily into this Lord of the Rings things, and Matt would switch over to Star Wars Galaxy, and I'd be like, get out of here! Like, I would never do that. I would never spend my money on that. I don't think anybody, because we all were so like passionate. I was still getting into Marc-Andre Fleury, and you guys all had your chase cards that you hadn't found yet. So it's really interesting. I mean, Ryan is like chomping at the bit when we get to his segment, like why we make these decisions to like switch it up a little bit. But I think for me it was not like Ryan. I mean, I got some great cards, but I think I got like one card off the 50 card want list, one in the first 4 months of this year. One card. I was like, geez, what is going on here, man? I can't unearth these things. And then you guys have any like mid-tier cards on your want list? Maybe you don't anymore, but like, the ones that are like 20 to 50, like in that range, but they're out of 25, out of 10, kind of rare parallels or something. Like those weren't showing up, and all of a sudden within this last month, I crossed off 3 off of that want list. I was like, sweet, that's how it goes, though, right? It always ebbs and flows in this hobby. Sometimes you get 50 that show up, in a month or two, and then sometimes you get none. But I think for me, I knew within, I don't know, probably like, it all started with Brent Morrison. You guys know him, right? Near Mint Musings on YouTube. Great storyteller. His videos are always good. He usually cracks open a drink or whatever. I highly recommend that you watch his like moose, whatever the heck he called it, drink that he made up on the spot to like give a tribute to Dustin Abraham. But he like made this terrible concoction of a drink, and he's like drinking it while reading a card. Have you seen that, Ryan? His facial.
No, I could just imagine though with him.
Oh, that's so funny. But anyway, he opened this box of this stuff called Star Wars Galaxy Chrome, if you remember, at the end of last year, right around Christmas time. Mm-hmm. And I was like, ooh, wait. What is this? You know, big Star Wars nerd here. And so it kind of like planted the seed back then. And then I kind of got into Final Fantasy a little bit, but I don't have a real strong emotional connection. I just think the cards look cool. So I knew that might not be something that lasts, but I wanted to take a look at them. And all of a sudden I started watching some breaks and seeing some cards. And there's a guy on Instagram called Star Wars Card Crazy. His name's David, awesome content creator. He started showing off these atomic refractors from Galaxy. And I was like, okay, I'm going to need to figure something out here. So I feel like for me, and I'm going to throw this to you and all the viewers here, like what is a goal you have going forward for this year? And I think for me, it's easy. These cards are fairly expensive depending on who's on the card. This is the one that came in today of Luke Skywalker, and every card is not like a picture from the movie and then like artistically redone. They're all like an artist's vision of what a certain scene would be like that's not in the movie, or something that would have been in between scenes or something like that. So it's very, very unique, and I love the artistic feel to it as well. So all the numbered cards that are not like just purple refractors, which don't look any different, just like this is a different color. The ones that have some sort of, surface design, atomic, wave, or mojo are the few that I really like. And the prisms are the best. But I feel like a big goal for me is to just take my time and find the images that really, really stand out to me. And like you said, with wrestling too, Will, they're not cheap. You want a Darth Vader, atomic refractor that's got this incredible art. Well, you're going to have to pay, over $100 or almost $100 for it. And this is out of 150, but even the fact that they're out of 150, they sell like they're out of 25. So they really sell well, and obviously a huge universe of fans out there trying to buy all these. So that's going to be for me. I think this is the place I'm going to go now that Fleury, he's got one more year left, and then he's out, and he's not going to get any cards for a few years. So I think this will be a good place for me to hang out. So that's my goal, is just to pick off, 5 to 10 cards here. One really nice one a month, maybe 2 nice ones a month. And then I know there'll be some at the National. So that's going to open up my net, Will. My net for the National has expanded. So anyway, that's for me. That's one goal that I have, is just kind of dipping my toes into the Star Wars Galaxy universe, not expanding beyond that if I can. Just stick within this one set. And then when it comes out at the end of the year, dude, I am pre-ordering at least 2 boxes. It's going to happen. So can't wait.
Yeah. Kind of piggyback off of that. So when the 2021 stuff was released, right? So that was the first year that they had the Topps Galaxy Chrome. Now the Galaxy was a set prior to that, and they've had Galaxy for several years. So I bought boxes for the kids for Christmas for years, like back in between like 2013, 2019, something like that. We would buy, I'd go to Blowout. They would have a markdown. So I was getting like boxes for, I don't know, sometimes $50 to $85, depending on the box. And because baseball was skyrocketing. So they enjoyed opening all that stuff. And I love Star Wars too. So we have opened like just the basic Galaxy, like the same sets that are Chromium now. Like it's the same artwork. Like I've got a sweet Sidious where he's shooting the lasers out of his hand. It's like a blue background. Like it's pretty sweet. But that's also, you can get the refractors and stuff for that card. But I pre-ordered 2 boxes of 2021 for my kids, $75 a box pre-order. Okay, for the first year it came out. We're sitting there. I bought it in August. I put it up. It was going to be a Christmas gift, and as the year approached, I kept checking prices, and I'm like, dang, these are like $150 a box, 185, 200. So I go to the kids. I'm like, look, I know y'all like opening Star Wars cards, but we've got these 2 boxes, and I could flip these pretty easily and make some money on them. So they're like, sell them. So I sold them. I was able to buy them something else that they want. Like I bought a PS5 for my oldest son. It worked out great. But man, I sold one to my cousin, and then the other one I sold on eBay. So I got like $265 for the one on eBay, and I sold him one for $200. His daughter opens it Christmas morning. She pulls a 1-of-1 poster card, Taiwanese poster card, art card. So he sends me the picture. It's crazy. He's like, I want to sell. She wants to sell it because she wants to buy Mike Trout cards. So I've listed in a Star Wars group. A guy from Taiwan messages me. We work something out. So it's in the hands of a Taiwanese collector now, that 1-of-1 card from Galaxy. He paid $350 for it then. There's no telling what it would be now. So now like last year, it was like, how much was it pre-order last year? Did you ever look at it, Matt? I think it was close to $200 a box last year.
Yeah, it was. And those 21 boxes, because I'm like,
Yeah.
it'd be fun to open one. $560.
Yeah,
now
they're
a box.
5. Yeah. So
Crazy.
people got a great deal at the time when I sold them away, but yeah.
Yeah, those are really impressive. All right, let's just for time purposes, let's just go around real quick, and then we can get into our next topic here. So Ryan, one goal moving forward this year.
I think it's hanging out with Hank, Aaron stuff. I've realized that I've really missed kind of chasing the vintage side of stuff. I haven't been focused, and like I said, this time of year I want to get back into the 50s, 60s, even back in the 30s and stuff, and just been reading some books related to some of the, like I read a book about Branch Rickey, really sweet, little cool, nice. Like 150-page book. So Hank, that's what I'm going to focus on.
Looking forward to seeing if you can, hang out with Hank and show us some pictures here. That'd be great. What about you, Will?
Well, my one thing this year was wanting to get a Willie Mays and or the Sandy Koufax auto, and I got both of them, and then lost both of them because they were both freaking fake. So I'd like to get redemption a real here. One. I need redemption. I want to get a real one of one of those before the end of the year, if not both.
Okay. Well, you know what, though? The National, you're going to have a good chance to find at least one of those, and I will be on the lookout. I know we will both be looking around to help you out. That would be nice, like a triumphant, like walking out of the door, like, here's a real one,
I have no doubt I can find one. It's can I afford one?
You'll find one, whether Will's going to price.
Yeah.
Well, if you find one, if you find like the one, like don't walk out of there without it. Like, you know what I mean? If it's like $20, $30 over, like just we've all learned the lesson now. Get the card, walk out. You won't regret it. You have a good story to tell. You got it with your buddies at the National. Can't beat that. So how about you, Jared?
Yeah, biggest thing for me probably is just cross one big A-Rod off the list and then get a Yogi Berra auto finally, probably. One that I really want, as opposed to ones that, are always available.
Does he have one in the 98 Upper Deck retro set? Does he have that?
He does. I like that one a lot. It's usually a little bit more than I want to pay, but there are a couple other ones I like a little bit more.
Okay.
He's also in a lot of the early Topps Heritage sets,
right.
So I like those a lot.
I wonder if he has any Topps Tribute autos, because I feel like those would be pretty sick if they're on card. Like those earlier, you know what I mean, guys, like the 03, 04 Topps Tribute.
I don't think he's got any Tribute. If he does, they're super low numbered. But he did sign a lot before he died, so there are a lot of options out there. It's just a matter of getting the right one or buying multiple different ones.
All right. Well, hopefully we can all achieve that goal. I guess I should have said something specific. I was so broad. There's two really cool cards. There's an Anakin and a Darth Vader that I saw that I'm like, ooh, these look amazing. But of course they sell for very, very expensive prices compared to what I'm used to because I'm new. So
buy Bib Fortuna, you'll be good.
One of the ugliest characters of all time. Had a great death though. Just like came in and Boba took care of that. All right, so we're going to move on. This is going to be a quick one because then we can get, I know, Will, how much time we got you for? Another like 12 minutes?
Yeah, I've got to go pick my wife up from the airport after she's had some flight nightmares getting back today, but I've got to drive to Charlotte and pick her up. So yeah, if we want to knock out Immaculate Grid, I would love to do that. So
Yeah, let's do that. Let's jump into Immaculate Grid right now. So I'm gonna pull it up on the screen here. Oh, geez, of course Braves are involved. We better get this. So just real quick for everybody, we're at immaculategrid.com. You can do this on your computer. You can do it on your phone. If you want to do it with us, maybe that would be great. But we wanted to kind of show some people in case they didn't know, because Will found this for us. A week and a half ago. I was just down south, and I was visiting my girlfriend down there, and I did a couple, and I think I got an 8 out of 9, and so that was pretty cool. Although I'm over there getting excited about it. She's like, "What? Okay, great." So I always start over here, so I'm gonna just go one by one. Ryan, which one would you like to start with that you know for sure?
Give me. You know what? Jeremy, you got the Rockies. I won't do that to you. You know.
Yeah.
Give me Braves and St. Louis.
All right. And who played for the Braves? I mean, yeah, I think
not gonna be Adam Wainwright because he never came up with the Braves pitch for them. But give me Matt Adams.
Oh, you're not going John Smoltz?
No, because I don't think of him.
3%. Nice. Nice.
Thought we were going for low percentage. I'm like. I pick Smoltz and Maddox for everything when they're there.
Okay, well, I'm going to steal one from Jeremy here and just get this over with right now. Alex Rodriguez, I think we can all agree he hit 40 home runs for the Yankees, but I don't want him to be the one to screw it up. So I'm just getting that one.
He hit 60-something last year.
Yeah, right. No, I had to just get that out of the way. So because he's not fitting anywhere else in here. So, all right, Will. Where are we going?
All right, let's go Braves and Tigers. Gary Sheffield. Ryan,
he did play for the Tigers, right?
Sheffield was on the Tigers, right?
Marlins,
Chat? Anybody in the chat want to confirm that?
Jeremy, can you unmute real quick? What are you thinking? Did he play for the Tigers?
I don't know about Tigers.
I don't remember the Tigers.
Braves.
I don't either.
Oh God.
Yeah, I know that's a tough one because I can't.
I can pivot.
Okay.
All right, let's go Braves, Yankees, and we'll go David Justice.
Sheffield.
That one's got a wide open.
There you go.
You could have went so many directions.
Pretty sure Sheffield worked for that one too, but
Sheffield, Jones.
Yep. No, I don't want to use. Okay, so here's the other strategy that I've learned playing this game: is you want to look at all the squares before you just play somebody.
Yeah.
Earlier this week, there was a Rays in the top left. It was Rays and Astros, and then Rays and 200 strikeouts.
Mm-hmm.
Charlie Morton fit both of those categories.
Yeah, that's right.
So I played Charlie Morton in the 200K category without realizing it when I should have played him in Astros Rays, because then I couldn't think of another player that played for the Astros and the Rays, and I ended up getting an 8 out of freaking 9, and I was mad.
All right,
you gotta make sure your player only counts for one column, one square.
Yeah. And somehow Matt Garza didn't have 200 strikeouts. He had 188. So come on, Garza, you killed me, man. I was going 9 for 9 on that sucker until that happened. All right, Jeremy, where are you going with this?
He had to have played at least one regular season game, correct?
Correct.
Oh boy, this is going to be it.
So
I've got Rockies and Cardinals.
Rockies and Yankees. Troy Tulowitzki.
Tulu.
I think he only played like 5 games for him.
Yep, it worked.
Dang,
all right,
we went to a Yankees game that season, hoping to see him play. And like 6 games in, he was hurt, and then he retired.
Oh, that's a huge bummer, man.
Wow.
He always dealt with injury problems. It was such a bummer.
You know, there's a lot that it would fit with that, though, or at least what LeMahieu would have fit in there too.
DJ LeMahieu. Garrett Adams, did he play for the Yankees at all? Do I have that name right? Garrett, is it Adams?
Garrett Adkins.
Kind of a Adkins. Thank you.
Yeah.
Funky batting stance.
Yeah.
Who else? There's got to be some pitchers that we're forgetting. I'm trying to think of 90s for that. Did like Larry Walker, Galarraga, any of those guys? Castillo, did Vinny Castilla come over to Yankees at all? No,
Vinny Castilla, Galarraga would have been good if it was like Rockies Braves.
Right. Okay, Ryan, are you taking a slam dunk here? Because I got one picked, but I don't. Yeah. Where are you going?
Oh. I could go Rocky St. Louis. Has anybody got something there? I can pivot from that.
Go for it.
Rocky St. Louis.
Nolan Arenado.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say Larry Walker.
Well, I'm taking the easiest slam dunk in this whole thing and doing Mark McGwire. So I think that pretty much takes care of that. And only 40% said that. Probably Albert Pujols was what everybody.
Yeah.
Pujols. Is there anybody else that's hit 40 or more for the Cardinals? Did Walker or Roland ever do it?
That's a good question. Berkman, maybe?
No.
Berkman hit
Lance Berkman. Who did you say, Ryan?
David Freese.
No, he's got the most important hit in the history. Like, most important hit ever. Like, okay, David Freese. Yeah. For sure. Okay, so this comes down to, just so everybody knows, I'm out of the hot seat. Will has to get one. Jeremy has. I mean, we're all going to do it together.
Oh, this was like Scramble. Come on.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Okay, so Will, are you doing the Braves Tigers, or are you doing 40 home run, or which one you want here?
All right, I'd love to save the 40 home run for last, since that one's just an absolute cakewalk.
Yeah.
I am like so positive Gary Sheffield played for the Tigers. Let me keep thinking on that one. Rockies and Tigers.
Jeez, anybody go. Just if anybody knows one, just go for it. Because at this point, we're just trying to finish.
Yeah.
Rockies, Tigers. I'm going through all those Rockies.
Did Jack Morris play anywhere else? No. He pitched for the Tigers.
He's never a Tiger.
No. Hey, where did? No, it was Florida.
Okay, I have a Brave Tiger that's not Gary Sheffield that I know is correct, and that's Joe Jimenez. Our current setup.
Oh, pitch. Yep.
Joe Jimenez. Boom.
Yes.
Nice. 9%. That's surprising, huh?
Good call.
God, who else would have worked for that? I'm
gonna go look up Gary Sheffield now, and I'm gonna yell at y'all.
I don't remember because I can picture him I think he's right, but I can't vividly picture it. Like, I know obviously Brewers, we know Yankees, right, for Sheffield. We know the Marlins. And the Braves, but I can't.
Two seasons in Detroit, 250 games.
None of our viewers are piping in here, piping up with a reminder. That would have helped. Maybe they want us to do this all on our own. They're doing it.
Baseball reference and help a brother out.
Is anybody in the chat? Can you tell us? Is anybody? I know one person who's watching that's not doing this with us, but is there anybody else that's doing this with us? All right. Jeremy, Ryan, Will. I'm trying. I mean, you said, is it Cabrera? Did he have 40?
Yeah, Miggy.
Should we just get this out of here?
Wait, never mind. I'm thinking Marlins. It's like a guy for it.
Right, Miguel Cabrera, in case.
Right. All right. So this is our chance. Rockies, Tigers. Who's got a
Rex
Rocky
Grossman?
Oh, Rex Grossman.
Really? I know he played for the Rockies, right? Pitcher.
Did Rex Grossman?
Is it Rex Grossman? Or
no,
is he
that's
the
sure
football player?
The only Rex Grossman I know is a Florida
quarterback.
quarterback.
Robbie Grossman.
Grossman. That's
Rex Grossman was the quarterback.
He was.
That would have been. I think that's a sign that we should do somebody else. Or are you right? Is it Robbie Grossman?
No, but Robbie Grossman played for the Rockies, but I'm not sure if he was a Tiger. He just
didn't we get him from the Tigers?
I thought he's on the Tigers now.
I think he's on the Rangers.
Is he retired?
Yeah.
Oh gosh. All right.
Where did Jordan Schaefer play? Oh, he's a Brave and a Twin, right? He wasn't.
Oh, jeez. I'm not thinking of anybody right now. Because
Where's Austin Jackson at?
Did Austin play for Colorado though? He played for Detroit and Seattle. Those are the two that I vividly remember, but not Colorado.
We got to think. There's got to be a pitcher.
Come on, Jeremy. This is your team, bro. This ought to be slam dunk for you. He's going through all the
players I'm naming off, but I don't know anyone on if they've gone to Detroit.
Okay, let's go through some of the 90s players in Detroit. Tony Clark.
The players I'm also thinking of a lot are before the Colorado Rockies, like that first couple of years.
Did Robbie Grossman for sure play for Colorado? Can somebody confirm that? Did they know for sure in their head he did?
Ryan,
I remember baseball cards of him sorting cards. I swear to you.
We can't have the chat confirm. We have to go with it.
All right.
Oh
no.
Dang.
No, we didn't do it.
All right.
But
Pull
you know
it
what?
back
You got
up.
to.
Pull it back up. Let's see what the most popular picks
Yeah,
were.
what
for
were the top
today.
scores?
All right. So how do we?
Sacagawea.
Hit show summary, and then see today's stats, and then scroll down.
Oh,
CJ
CJ.
Cron.
I don't
CJ
remember him
Cron.
playing.
Oh,
Is that
come
where he's
on.
at now? Dang it.
Marcelo
Dang it.
Zuna.
And Judge was on less than 50%. Pujols was
Wow.
only over 50.
So Pujols was 51 and McGuire was 40.
Yeah, that's something else. All right. Well, we did pretty good though, but that would have been a tough one for me. I don't know. I would have been
bad.
going through all the CJ Cron would not have been the one that came up for me.
I
think
didn't
it would have
remember
been
Cron with the Tigers. Wasn't he with the Angels? I remember that.
I think Angels and Rockies are the only two that I thought of. But I was trying to go through all the Rockies that
The fudge. Somebody look up players with the Rockies.
Yeah, we'll do that later. But hey, next show, 2 weeks, we get a crack at it again. So, and by the
My
way, we
bad.
do want to mention that Will is it Will that's the only one that's done 9 out of 9, or was it Ryan and Will?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
It was Will.
All right. Well, Will, thanks for hanging out. I don't know what's going on right now. But we'll look forward to having you and your brother on in a couple weeks. Can't wait to meet him prior to getting to the Nationals. So, yeah. Make sure you tell your wife that we let you go early to pick her up. So she's feeling good about this.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Sorry, puppy got tangled up in the yeah, but you know what? Us missing that one also allows us to discuss my favorite topic of this week, which is the Nelson Mandela Player of the Day, which today is Robbie Grossman. So the Nelson
awesome.
Mandela Player of the Game is a phrase I made up for the player that ruins your perfect bracket because you swear you remember them. You swear you remember Robbie Grossman playing for the Rockies. And I'd be damned, he never did.
My God, I remember a heritage card of him.
The Mandela effect is very strong in this game. So the Nelson Mandela Player of the Day, Robbie Grossman.
Yep.
Congrats.
Thanks, Jeff,
that's on
for
me tonight.
proving us right, proving us wrong. I mean,
I thought that
all
was
right.
such a great guess. And I never would have come
Yeah.
up with CJ Cron. I'm glad it was CJ Cron and not like some obvious, blatant
Right.
Hall of Fame player that we didn't
Yeah.
think of.
wait, hold on, timeout. Was it Rockies Tigers?
Yeah.
Didn't Galarraga? No, that was the other Galarraga. I was gonna say, I got a little worried there because I thought
Hang on,
Andres
look up
Galarraga
Andres
also
Galarraga now.
for the Tigers. It's just the other pitcher who should have had a perfect game. Correct.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Andres
All right.
Galarraga was not a Tiger, so we're good.
Okay.
We're good.
I was like, man, if we had missed that would have been pathetic. We're better than that. All right. Good. He was a tiger. He was not a tiger. He was a giant. That's right.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Cool. But we're
Guys,
gonna run
thanks
on.
for having me. It was fun. I'm looking forward
You
to
bet, dude.
a couple of weeks, our pre-national show to chat some more.
Yeah,
That'll be
buddy.
good.
Coming up. It's
Cool.
gonna be fun.
Thanks,
All right.
guys.
Have a good night, bud.
I'll
See ya.
catch y'all later.
Yeah.
All right. Well, shall we get to our next topic? We're going to go through this one quick because I want to get to Ryan's. So just really, really quick here. Ryan, you got a little sketch card there yourself. The Star Wars one. One thing that I ran across this listing a couple weeks ago, and I was like, a sketch card of glass now. Is this some kind of like personal? Somebody did like a sketch and they're selling it, which is cool in its own right, but it said Tops on it. And I'm like, something's just not adding up. But then I saw the back, and that's exactly how the Star Wars cards look. Am I right?
Yeah. Yep.
So,
Pretty much.
yeah. So I guess my first question for everybody is, and this is for the chat as well, like, what are your thoughts on having these original sketch cards? They are 101s. It's not the same as like getting a superfractor, but it's in the same way. I've seen these sell for more than some of the really nice Glass Now 101 like printing plates and stuff. So what are your thoughts on these to start?
I'm partial to sketch cards just because of delving into things like Star Wars or just non-sports cards in general, like whether it's like we've opened Stranger Things, we've opened Star Wars, Lord of the Rings. I mean, so that's a lot of times that's a harder chase hit than an autograph of somebody out of one of the sets or a plate. So I like it. The fact that it's an original piece of art makes it unique, and it's the only one of its kind. It's not prints of it, so it's the original art piece. It's something different. You've got things that are like gallery that's kind of supposed to be artistic like, but going back to those original sketches that they drop in there. Those are very unique, but they look just like the card, where these don't necessarily look like the card itself. It's a completely unique thing. So I don't know how most sports collectors would view it if they're just like purely into baseball, because maybe they look at it as gimmicky coming over from non-sport stuff.
Right.
But to me, I like it.
I agree with both of those points. I thought it was gimmicky at first, and then I was like, you know what, this is actually pretty sick.
Yeah, and I don't know. I haven't really looked into it on the baseball side, because I know you've looked at it. You've seen the glass now.
A little bit.
I don't know if you've researched it, but is there like one sketch card of every player in the set, or was it just like a checklist of sketch cards?
I think, and I don't even think they released the checklist prior, because as far as I know, when I looked at Series 2, the checklist, I fully expected Tyler Glasnow to have a card, and he did not. But this came out of Series 2, and there was no Glasnow on that checklist. So I think they leave the sketch cards as these like Easter egg cards. Gotcha. There was one of Acuna that was selling very well. Freddie Freeman, I think, was selling very well. So I thought it was cool. I love Easter egg things. Upper Deck does that a lot. So
well, and the other piece of that too is if this is the first year they've done it, it's kind of like that inaugural card. Mm-hmm. So I think from a value standpoint, they may hold more value than, say, more sketch cards down the road in baseball or something. But I mean, like things like this, you kind of anticipate in non-sports, right? Like
hold on real quick. Let me zoom in on this for you. Yeah. Oh yeah, look at that.
So like this is from Galactic Files, right? Mm-hmm. And this artist may do several different sketches, but they're pretty cool. And then this one is from the Empire Strikes Back Illustrated. I think there's a couple of these, and I'll show them real quick. I'm not sure which one this is, so let me check. Like this one is like a booklet sketch.
Oh, that's so cool.
So I got to find a holder for these, but they've just kind of been.
Love it.
So yeah, I'm kind of partial to that. It makes me think of like storyboards for the movies, things like that. Mm-hmm.
How about yourself, Jeremy? I mean, where do you? I know you don't do a lot of modern baseball. You do a little bit of Rockies stuff, right? You like to pick up different Rockies here and there, especially Tulo and whatnot, and Trevor Story. But like, where are you on these types of cards?
It kind of depends. If it looks pretty good, I'll at least consider it. But if it's too Topps Project 70, 2020, all that bull, it looks terrible 90% of the time. I just flip through it. Some of them were good. Some of the designs were cool. Some of the artists, renderings were pretty awesome. Mm-hmm. But a lot of it was just kind of trash, in my opinion. The Glasnow looks pretty cool. Looks unique. I probably wouldn't get it unless it was like, $15-20.
Yeah, it was double that. Yeah,
but it is a lot better than, like I said, a lot of that Project 2020, 70, 80, whatever number they're on at this point. A lot of that stuff was, I don't know. It definitely didn't crank my tractor, as Will would say.
So it's a little more acceptable when it's packed out and it's a little more versus you pre-order and there's a number of pre-orders and now you got a print run.
Yeah, I would see that too, because even like, what was it, the Topps Gallery set, they had like a little sketch card in 98, 99, like just a little sketch card of players. They were obviously mass produced and stuff, and it's interesting, but I mean, you kind of get more of a, it was packed out in a pack, so it's more acceptable, I guess.
But it was really cool too to tag the artist in there and have him, comment like, "Hey, thanks. I'm thinking about drawing these next things. What would you like to see?" And I'm like, "Another Glasnow, please." Like, how he does that thing with the glove in front of his face and kind of goes like that. I'm like, that would be so sick. Like, and he really captured the hair, the hair flowing forward when he pitches and his length. Like, man, I don't know. I've always been a sucker for art, and I like seeing artistic versions of our favorite players. Obviously, Justin Jefferson, he's probably making a great catch. Derrick Henry, he's got like two people bouncing off of him. Like, you can kind of start getting into the, comic booky type stuff where there's things that are a little bit more overdone, right, and unrealistic, but it still looks really cool. And A-Rod, just like as he's hitting the ball's like exploding off the bat. Like, he could really do some cool stuff. And so I think it gives some more creativity when it comes to adding a card to your collection, something unique,
even though it's not original artwork, some of my favorite cards growing up, and I can't remember if it was Fleer or Donruss, but like it was the cartoon looking cards. They weren't cartoonish. There was one that was like Score had like the big heads, but it was the ones where like McGuire standing there with a bat on his shoulder, planets are in the background. It kind of had a space theme behind it, but they were just paper cards. Matt, like Eric Davis was in the set, McGuire, Bonds was in the set, and it was just a subset of some really cheap, early '90s product. But like, I mean, it makes me think of those a little bit.
There it is. Nice job, Ryan. Appreciate you, dude. Love it. Awesome. Well, and I think, one thing that's really neat too is we saw a lot of that in the 90s, right? Like with all the Marvel and Batman and Spider-Man and all these different sets had all those cool art, elements within the base set and the inserts and stuff. I think we like seeing a little bit of that crossover and seeing these sketch cards come in for baseball after Star Wars and Marvel do them. I mean, I think it's cool to see it. It gives you just another type of a card to add to your collection that's a little bit outside of the realm that we kind of stay in. So
a lot of those artists play around in some of the Facebook groups, especially the Star Wars, because I've seen a lot of them, pop up with their, hey, I got 10 extra, that they let me keep, and they would sell them through that or whatever. Like they didn't get packed out.
That's cool.
So a lot of them are collectors too.
Well, let me throw this question out. We can just go real quick here, and then we'll jump into Professor Molinix's topic, which is I'm really excited to hear you kind of talk about this and dive a bit deeper into the psyche of why we're collecting. But if you were to take a player outside of your PC player, right, and like you're opening a pack, you pull a sketch card of somebody, which player do you think would be really neat to see, like an artist's vision, like rendition of them playing the game? It could be from any sport. Let's try to stick within the four major here. Just, obviously we don't want to go out and Lord of the Rings. I mean, that's too easy, right? There's so many cool drawings you can do from that. But who would you pick, you think? Who would be a nice one to pull out of a pack?
I don't know. I think I'd go old school. I think I'd like to see, but not too cliche like Ruth or anybody like that. Right. I don't know. I would like to see like some Negro League cards, like some sketches, because those guys did not
Josh
get
Gibson.
A lot of cards.
That'd be nice.
Because I mean, you think like Satch was one card. He had one card. A lot of those guys didn't get a lot of stuff until either they were, once they got integrated into baseball, but like Josh Gibson, that would be cool to see something like that and kind of have some kind of 42 tribute with it or something.
That'd be sweet, dude. What about you, Jared?
If you're going back that far, it'd be Shoeless Joe for me.
Yeah.
Because everything that they try to put on cards these days, there's like 3 different pictures. They're all relatively lame and not great pictures. So none of his cards that have ever come out have really appealed that much. So it'd be cool to see something of that. But if you were to go more modern, I'd think of someone like kind of like an athletic freak, someone like Shaq, or even Aaron Judge or LeBron, just someone that's so different from everyone else. Just see kind of how they mess with that and deal with, their physicality.
I want the Bo Jackson on Beckett with the Superman.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. You could really play into the personality. Shaq, he would have a cape behind him and he would be dunking or something like that, or if you made it more realistic, you could just have, veins popping out or just like that look of intensity on his face with the backboard breaking. I mean, you could really have some awesome sketches with that.
Well, they even did, not sketch like things, but even 95 Pinnacle, they had some cool stuff like that. I'm always reminded of the Frank Thomas, where he's like stepping into the stadium. And that was kind of like, an out of the box kind of concept, but like it looks really cool.
Oh yeah, here we go. That's a great image. Okay, I see what you're going for. That's fantastic.
When everyone thinks of the Griffey with the bubble, the gum bubble.
Oh, that's
the
classic.
Iconic card from the set, I think, was the Frank Thomas stepping into the stadium, because the Big Hurt, he is a big dude, larger than life. It's just pretty cool card.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's really neat. Yeah, and I think just for me in general, I just wanted to bring up these sketch cards because maybe a lot of people don't know about them unless they're searching their player and their player gets a few of them. Like Acuna is going to have more sketch cards than probably anybody, or Judge, or somebody along those lines. But I think for me, if I was going to, it's so hard. I mean, obviously Griffey, just like that iconic swing or the backwards hat. I mean, who wouldn't want to see a really cool or pull a cool card of him? But obviously it would be really cool to see, some of the older school guys, like you said, the vintage guys, just even the Jackie Robinson would be great for me, because a lot of those cards were some of them were photos, but some were kind of, what is this famous, is it the 58 that the set I'm thinking of with him sliding into home?
Reverse negative stuff.
Just the horizontal cards that would, they got the two pictures.
That was the 56.
But then the 58 set had the it was more, there was more behind the player and the
field and
So something just like that with Jackie, I think he was there were so many great moments in his career. I mean, I know it's kind of a cop-out answer, but that's what I would pick. So
no, man, that's a great choice. You're talking about this?
Bam, that's it. That's the one. But because there are drawings there, right? So I think that using cards like that where you've got a real picture and then you've got some art to the side. I mean, that's classic.
That's Willie Mays. That's not Hank Aaron. It is. Seriously, if you look closely, you can tell it's Willie.
That's nuts. Well, then it makes it even better, in my opinion. So sick. Cool. All right. Well, in case anybody didn't know, check out the top sketch cards. We lost about 4 or 5 viewers there in that segment, so apparently they're not fans. But
they just had to go to the bathroom. That's all.
That's it. So Ryan, you're going to talk a little bit. Our last segment here before we wrap it up and show off the pickup is you've been doing a lot of reading lately, right? You've been doing a lot of reading, and you and I find it really fascinating. And I know Jeremy does too, to a certain level, or we all do. Like, why do we do what we do beyond like the cards are cool? I think that's like the biggest answer anybody could say. But first of all, can you tell us the book that you've been reading, and then like kind of your interest in this topic about the psyche behind it, what collectors in general?
I did a great job of not bringing it in here with me. So one of them is The Things We Love, and the book kind of focuses on and kind of gives this scoring chart of deciding if you love something or not, like if you love it, if you're passionate about it, and it has to hit a certain score to really kind of qualify for that.
In regards to a hobby, right? Not a person.
Yes. Yeah. It's completely like, they're like, this is not about people. And the two books that I've been reading, and both of them, they're like, look, from the outset, like nothing, like this is not talking about people. Like there's a completely different kind of love, passion, right? Like that's, and the one that the psychology book is more of a, I think it's Collecting an Unruly, the art of collecting, or psychology of collecting an unruly hobby, or something like that. I'll bring it in later, but they both start off with, look, you need to understand that this doesn't replace human connections and affections and things like that. It's more of there's some kind of pathway that started even when we were kids, even when we were infants, that is in every person as for attachment and detachment. And so now it gets really deep, and this is for people who are very, I think it's more obsessive, not necessarily hoarders, because he talks about there's people who collect that are hoarders and they want everything. And then there's people who collect, but they're only looking for the perfect one specimen of one thing. And so their process they go through to get that one perfect specimen, they will get it, and then they'll look for something that's even better than that one. And they're so anal retentive about it being better. But his idea is it all kind of tracks back to when we were kids. So he gives examples of some collectors that he talked to. Now, granted, this book is focused more on a lot of high-end things like Empire furniture from like Napoleon's time, or artwork or glass or paintings. You're not talking about sports memorabilia, but in terms of just the grain of how collectors' mindsets work and in general, it's this idea of there's some kind of connection to the past, whether we recognize it or not, that ties us to what we do in terms of a collecting hobby. And you have to determine, where do you draw the line between this being recreational entertainment and fun for you to it becomes obsessive and can affect other parts of your life, or if you're using this as a way to compensate or fix something that happened in the past. So he's very adamant that people who are like these high-end art collectors that will do anything to get the perfect piece, and they just have to have it, and they will do things that aren't necessarily morally correct, or that we would look at and say that's a bit crazy to go to that length to get this piece of art. There's something connected in their past that he feels has to do with either some kind of it's retribution for something else, whether it was an absence of a parent or it was trauma they went through as a kid. And so it's really interesting. Now, as I read that stuff, I'm like, I don't collect baseball cards because I had trauma as a kid or I was left alone. But what he talks about is there is some kind of cerebral kind of back to your childhood connection to it. And I think for sports, that was how we connected to players as kids. We had cards. I was fortunate because I had WGN growing up and then Turner Sports Network. So I could see the Cubs play and I could see the Braves play. I never saw other teams play, but I had, what was the fastest 40 minutes in sports, some of those things, or there's and then of course ESPN was coming out, they were starting to get a little more popular. But I didn't have ESPN until I was like in middle school. We didn't have cable until middle school. So like that's how I learned about the players. And I got the Beckett, and then I read the articles, or I got Sports Illustrated and I have like 150 Sports Illustrateds in a tub in there from my childhood that I still go back and read some of them. So the point that the author's trying to make in the book that has to do with the psychology of collecting is there's some type of attachment to whatever it is we collect, and it becomes almost like a totem to the person. Like you look at it and it's not just the item, it means something deeper. That's why a lot of times if something that you collect that somebody comes by and sees it and they're like, oh, those are baseball cards, but we have a deeper emotional connection to it because it has something to do with our past connections with the sport, with the players. It brings some kind of nostalgic feel. It brings some good memory back of a time that we spent with a family member, a friend, or somebody playing ball or going to games. But it also, there's probably a card in this case that I spent more time looking for, that I intensely searched for, that we ran through every avenue. Like for a collector, it's the ultimate, the prize is putting it in the collection, but the sentiment sticks with the process. Like we value cards because of the process that we go through to get them too. So if I have a card that I might have paid $100 for, I'm not going to let go of it for less than $100 because of the pain and suffering that I went through to get it.
Right. We can all relate to that.
So I think we talk about that a lot, but I think that emotional attachment is part of the collecting process, and the author brings that out a lot. And I'm still going through this book. Like it's one of those where I read it and I highlight things. I'm like, okay, I can't take another chapter of this. I got to go read something else. So it's just bits and pieces. But kind of as I thought through some of this stuff, I'd ordered the books, but then I got to looking at some things and I thought, there's kind of this idea. I see like a continuum of collecting. And normally continuums have completely polar opposite ends, right? So I was trying to figure out how do I kind of look at how I got into collecting or how I got back into collecting, and where do I stand as a collector from a mindset standpoint? Like, why am I doing what I'm doing? What's the point of me doing this? And going through like the last few months, it was just kind of a headache. I had to really kind of rationalize, like, well, what is the benefit of me spending this time or spending the money to do this? And I need to kind of know where I fall on this continuum in my head. So using some of the content out of a couple of these books, I just kind of came up with something. I don't know if you can share it. I don't know if I can screen share or what on here. I could kind of pop it up and just briefly go through it. And I mean briefly because the rest of the viewers are going to leave.
Yeah, right. If you have like maybe one or two of the things that you highlighted that you think really stand out, and then we can kind of frame that around a discussion here, because I already have a question that I'd like to throw out. So yeah, go.
Yeah.
You can share your screen. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, well, and I won't. Let's see if I can find it. I may have to.
I'm gonna, while you're doing that, I'm gonna ask Jeremy a question here. Like, Jeremy, are you able to justify every purchase you make still? Do you feel like especially now that you're at the big A-Rods, right? Like, you've only got the big monsters left, and we know those are not cheap. They're headed this way. So do you feel like each time you're able to still justify that?
Depends on the price. I was offered something that's obviously on my top, 10 lists. Yeah. One of the ones that's, not super easy to find, but also not, out of 5 or 10. So
Right.
The price wasn't there for me, and there's just no way, the way things are right now. Maybe during the pandemic, I might have been more willing to pay that kind of price. But for me at this point, there's only one or two cars that I'm going to pay kind of top dollar, or even think of even overpaying slightly for. And if it's not one of those two, I'm perfectly fine just kind of waiting, being patient. Eventually it'll pop up somewhere and I can get it, hopefully for a price that's more what I think it should be.
Right. And that's good that you can stay within your means too.
And that's how I would justify it. Like, if it was in the price range where I'm thinking about it, then it's more justified, I guess.
Okay.
But just to have it at this point, nah.
You've been doing good up to now anyway, right?
Yeah. I mean, there's some things definitely that, I probably couldn't have justified in the past or even still, but
okay.
Yeah.
Good answer. I was kind of wondering about that. Ryan, you have this ready to rock and roll. So just to throw this out here, again, we all know Ryan and I are teachers. Ryan is working with a lot older group of kids. So visually, you've got to keep them, engaged just like me, but probably a little bit more organized as far as presentations. So go ahead, man. What do you got for us here?
Yeah, so kind of follow up something else in the book. Like, he goes back and one of the chapters is called Bones and Skulls and Bones. And his, like, when we think about collecting, we think really more kind of Renaissance era past that, where people were getting into high end things that had value. Back to the time where the Romans invaded the Greeks, I mean, they were pillaging places and taking over places, not just for territorial control, but they were bringing back spoils, right? They were bringing, like, most of the Greek art is in Italy and in Roman territory, and then Italians have it now, a lot of it that hasn't been sent back, things like that, things like precious jewels. Like, so there was a point where collecting was so big that they had to have an ordinance put out where you could not have, like, it couldn't be in these large public collections, like museums, like it had to be spread out to a lot of different people. So that opened the door for a lot more attacks by some of the Caesars to go in and mainly just go in so they could collect more rare items. So there's always been this sense of collecting things. It was a little more barbaric then, but this is, and I've got it shared. So I'm going to have to click over to it and make sure. So can you see that next one? Because I can't see those screens. Okay. So this whole idea is, it's like, if you want to know, that's great. If you want to continue and listen, not know, that's fine. Can the why help you develop a healthy hobby and avoid pitfalls? Maybe it can. So if you need to answer that question, it's a good way to help you kind of get on the right track. This is very subjective. It's not good or bad. It's kind of an indifference thing. It's just how I see collectors progress through stages in the hobby. Different mindsets, you might have some of the similar goals and traits. So even if I don't list it in one, it's probably in more than one. And this is just based on knowledge of the hobby for the last kind of 10 years or so, things I've observed and different patterns that I've seen and most of us have seen. None of this is going to be mind blowing. Most everybody's seen this stuff. So the reason I kind of use this to help me a little bit is, like, I want to kind of answer two questions. When I look at blank, where does it fall on this continuum for me? And how is that going to affect, like, what I'm going to do with it if I'm trying to buy or sell, whatever. So if this is falling somewhere in a mindset that this is impulsive or whatever, like, am I okay with that?
And you're thinking of this with every purchase or any major purchase?
I think a lot of it's just subconsciously. These are things that I think about and have thought about, but I've never really sat down and just kind of laid it out. and to feel like, okay, I'm more self-aware of what I'm doing with some of this. And that's what I'm saying. Like, it's already a self-conscious process. So do you acknowledge that you are doing these things, and it kind of help you? So this is more of a tool, not a doctrine kind of thing. So this is kind of what I've came up with. On the far left, you've got collector's the collector. We're not going to go through all this. So the collector's mindset is like, I do this for monetary gain. Like, I'm either in the hobby because I have a hobby shop, I'm a businessman or woman, I'm online, I'm a flipper, whatever the reason is. Like, I have no attachment emotionally, physically to whatever it is I'm selling. The whole idea is to make money off of it, and I get the thrill out of making the money. So it's not a greed thing as much as like your hobby is seeing if you can take something, find something. I think of like Storage Wars, right? Like, go buy a storage locker and you hope to find something there you can sell. It's the thrill of that. The far end of this is hoarders, which is more of, you're dealing with things where you're keeping too many things, right? We kind of all know what hoarders are. But as it progresses towards that way, it's like the novice collector is like, that's the entry point for most people. They're back in because it's kind of a past experience. They're developing an interest again. Like, they have very superficial knowledge of what they're collecting. And I think these are the people that are targeted by the manufacturers and by the people who are influencers, or what you want to call them, that are in the hobby now. And I think this is a point where people get into it and they got to decide if they're going to stay or if they're going to get discouraged and leave. And I think that 2020 bump that we saw, there's a lot of people were coming in at this point.
So many. I mean, if you were to look at a chart of like a pie chart of these collectors, oh yeah, they're the novice, the people who came into the hobby in 2020. The novice is going to probably be like 75% or higher, I would think.
Yeah, so that part where it's like, so like I bought these Lord of the Rings Magic cards, right? So is that a novice move I made? So I look at them like, well, this is following a popular trend. Is it impulsive
move?
Yeah, is it a FOMO thing, or does it fall in my where I feel like I kind of am is like a balanced or purposeful collector? A little farther, I've already collected Lord of the Rings stuff. It's not a new thing for me. It's a new product that's representing an IP. But it's not like I'm not going after it because it's popular and everybody's going after it. I mean, a lot of people who like that IP are going to go after those things. So I kind of want to figure out like decisions I'm making, like, where do I fall in the mindset? Am I really novice about this? Am I evolving into something else? Or am I at a pretty balanced standpoint where I'm at as a collector? And kind of what you see is you get to that purposeful side. I think most of us kind of fit there now.
Yeah.
I think that's where we're at. We're not necessarily purist collectors. And and I don't think he would mind me saying this, but I think Alan kind of leans towards that a little bit. He's got a certain thing he's looking for. It's got a certain layout. He wants it to look a certain way, and he's willing to move a really nice card that's very rare because it doesn't just fit what he wants in his collection.
Right.
So I think trying to fall in one of those three categories is kind of where we bounce back and forth, at least for me. So if I'm making a decision on a card or buying a box of cards or whatever, I kind of want to say, okay, where am I at mentally with this? Am I kind of a noob? Am I thinking like a noob? Am I thinking like somebody who's really honed in on what they want to do? And so this is kind of where this has went with me, because I was ready to stop collecting. And I just really needed to know why I was doing what I was doing. So we covered that a lot when we talked last time, but
yeah, we did. Well, my first question is this, because all three of us have made impulse purchases that we have now since sold, or up to now. I can think of a couple. I don't know if Ryan can or Jeremy, but we make those purchases off of like something's exciting, and then we're like, crap, this really doesn't fit into what I'm doing, and then so you sell them. But I think those purchases then help us get refocused. Just like Jeremy said, you buy like 3 or 4 Terrell Davises, Jeremy, and all of a sudden a humongous A-Rod comes up and you're $200 in the hole from those TDs. You're like, why did I do this? Like, we're not being patient enough. But I'll go to you first, Jeremy. I was looking at that chart. I'm going to need to get rid of this since that's not up there anymore. But do you feel like you're mostly a purist collector, Jeremy, when you think about the reasons that you're doing what you do in this hobby?
Yeah, probably somewhere between purist and what was the
balanced.
Oh, yeah.
Not the balance. What was the other? Purposeful.
Purposeful.
Kind of somewhere. Yeah, kind of a combination of all three kind of thing. Yeah.
Right.
Somewhere kind of in there. I don't know.
Well, your deep connection to liking A-Rod, right? You've talked about that on this podcast many times.
Definitely have a deep connection of the player or players that I go after. It's not just kind of like random willy-nilly stuff, except for a random Bryce Harper thing that I picked up a couple months ago.
Right.
But I mean, yeah, definitely deep connection is pretty purposeful in what I look for. A lot of things I have passed on that, might be popular or, super in style, in vogue at the time. But
right.
If it doesn't really appeal to me or it's too expensive, I'm probably not going to worry about it too much.
I'm gonna throw this out here to the viewers. This is kind of like the last question that we can throw at you guys. But has anybody that's watching, like, how would you describe yourself as a collector? Who are you? What area do you fit into as a collector? Are you just kind of looking through the next hot thing? Are you emotionally attached to your cards, or are you just investing to try to make some money? I think there's so many different types out there, but and I do want to say hi to our fellow A-Rod collector here. Thanks for popping in here, dude. Yeah, exactly. I mean, he nailed it there. And that's a Rodney piece of advice right there. I remember that to this day. But I think all three of us, big surprise, right? We're all similarly attached to our cards in some kind of, emotional way, or whether it's nostalgic or whether it's like with Star Wars. I mean, I've spent hours reading about Anakin Skywalker lore before I ever got back into collecting. I just know that it's rooted deep. And I think that brings so much more meaning to why I'm buying what I buy in this new realm. I can justify it easily, as opposed to being like, hey, Matt, why are you buying Magic cards right now? Oh, I think they're going to be worth more. Like, I can't see myself getting anything out of that. And I know that none of us in here, Will would be in the same boat. None of us are in here to hopefully make a quick buck. That would be so dissatisfying in so many ways. So, Ryan, after you made that, I know, because we're kind of getting up to our hour and a half here, but I do want you to just refer back to that graph or that chart that you made, the graphic. How did that get you back into collecting? Because I don't think you ever said this when we talked one-on-one. You never said you were ready to leave. I thought you were just taking a break. So you legit were ready to be like, why the heck am I doing this? How did that help you?
I mean, it was key for me to you kind of hit on the head. We're purposeful people. Like we have reasons for why we do things. And I think most people are, there's a reason, but when you think about the psychology of what people do, like collections, you can look at collectors, it's going to tell you about their personalities. And we all click pretty well. This podcast works well because we have similar personalities. I mean, there's obviously differences, but we kind of approach things as, I don't want to spend money. I don't want to invest my time and energy, because I mean, money is one thing, but the one thing that we all equally have together that we can use is our time. And I don't want to spend my time doing something that I don't feel like I'm really getting anything out of. And if I'm sitting here collecting because I'm jumping on social media and I see people throwing a card up and I want to feel part of that, then maybe I need to find a way to feel part of something outside of that. If just because I'm chasing that, right? Like only because I want to be seen, not necessarily make friendships. And we know the personality types are pretty varied in what we do. I mean, even the books talk about, like, there's people who are collectors that want the best thing so they can share the best thing and let people see they have the best thing. That's their personality type is driven towards that. So being able to look at that information and go, okay, this is where you came back into the hobby. Are you making some decisions? Like, why do you feel the way you feel about this? And it kind of helped me get back on track of, like, you do enjoy doing these kind of things. Because I felt like I was spending too much time doing it. It became almost tedious. It became like it was just like it wasn't fun to do it, because it felt like I had to do it because this was the pattern I created. And there are people who are collectors, they collect because it's a pattern. Their grandfather, their father, somebody in their family collected, and they feel like they got to carry on that family tradition, even though they might not even enjoy it. Especially like if you look at some major families in this country. The book kind of mentions like the Kennedys and some of the different collections that the families had. Like they felt obligated to maintain that, and I didn't want to feel obligated to do something just because, well, I've already got all this stuff. What am I going to do with it? Because it's a lot hard. It's so much harder to get rid of it other than just giving it away than it is accumulating it.
Yes,
and
100%.
So I had to really decide like where do I feel like I am in this hobby, and where does it fit in my life, and how am I going to get enjoyment out of it and it not become so compulsive, obsessive, or just feel like a burden, and it be a recreational thing that I do and feel good about it again and enjoy the connections that I make through it. So being able to I just needed to lay that out and go, okay, where do you feel like you fall in these areas, and how could you kind of categorize these different areas as progressing to be something a little more like, I feel like this is a maturing process, and it doesn't mean that you have to be that all the way on the far right end of that chart to be at the pinnacle of collecting. Just feel like at some point we're going to bounce back and forth mentally based off what's going on in our lives and what's going on in the hobby. And it just allowed me to visually see what I was thinking about and feel like, okay, like I'm okay with doing this if I feel like I'm in the area that I want to be in this as a collector. This is the mindset I want to stay in, and I don't want to float back to that novice entry level. I don't want to always trying to be evolving as a collector, because I never kind of become where I want to be and what I'm doing in my hobby. But I do that with a lot of, it's not just in hobby, I do that with everything else I do in life. Nice. Like that's just my personality. That's kind of how I work through my career, my family, as a dad, as a father, as a teacher. You constantly want to be evolving and growing, but at some point you got to kind of perfect some of the things you're doing a little bit. And to me, it was just kind of a burden at the time. So it's really kind of helped me kind of wrap my head back around why I was doing what I was doing and to enjoy it again. And I have, like, the last 3 weeks have just been like, I feel like I got back in it again, like I did 10 years ago. So, except I know a lot more about it now.
Well, and you kind of understand the psychology behind it, just like, we put down there on the bottom for a bit, like, why do we do this, And so I got one question for each of you, and then we're gonna wrap it up here. So Jeremy, I'm gonna start with you. What continues after all these years that we've been podcasting, we've known each other even before you and Will and your friends were collecting, what continues to bring you back to this hobby day in and day out?
And a lot of it's kind of just the people you've met. I know for the longest time, it pretty much was just me and Will. Like, those are the only people in our friend group that collected anything like that. I am kind of like Will's a serial hobbyist. I, collect so many different things. I'm the only one in my family that collects stuff. And Will was the only one close enough that would collect something that I collected too. So that was like the only people I could talk to about it. When Will and I kind of stopped talking about it constantly is when we kind of took our breaks from around, 2010, 11 to whenever, 2018, 19.
That's right.
And then when we got back in, we started meeting more people like you guys, Tyler, and it's been more enjoyable, even if we're not picking up stuff, still just to have people that kind of have the same mindset, are picking up stuff, aren't picking up stuff, but kind of know that you're in that process, in that same kind of boat, I guess. It's been a lot more enjoyable, even if you're not fully involved at all times. I mean, like, even with Tyler and
Andy,
yeah, I couldn't.
Yeah, because he hasn't made an appearance. He'll make like an appearance once a month. Hey guys, still alive.
Yeah, it's like Tyler and Andy. We know they're there. We know they're around. Obviously, they've stopped or slowed down a little bit, but they're always lurking. They're always put in their information, and even when they do pop in, it's like nothing has ever changed. Just kind of one of those things that it's still the same mentality, and it's a good group to kind of be around.
Well, it's just I was gonna just say community, man. I mean, like, I'm so jazzed we talk about the National all the time, and that's because we're excited, not because we're excited to go there and buy cards. That is like a secondary, like far off. It's cool to see stuff. That's like third, but number one is the friendships in the community. That is why I keep coming back here. As soon as I was like, oh, I'm going to do Star Wars, I found like 5 or 6 people that I know like it, that I can talk to about it, because you're going to get some support. But it's like, okay, this is great. Like, you're celebrating with your friends, and then vice versa. They're saying the same things. And again, it's all about community, 100%. If I lost the community, my butt would be out of this hobby. I'd probably put all the flurries in a box and store them away, and the rest would, same thing, or sell it, and I'd be done without the community. So that's my answer. But Ryan, you've had way more in-depth thinking about this question than any of us, which is great. But like, at the end of the day, right now, where you're at currently in the hobby, not 4 months ago, Ryan, not a year ago, why do you come back right now?
Well, I think it's the commonality part of it. We have, it is with finding people with common interest. Why did I start collecting baseball cards? I like baseball, right? And I enjoy sports. But why do I collect other things? Maybe they're tangent to sports, because I'm at a point where I really enjoy cards. And when you have people that you can sit down and share that experience with, who get it, who feel the same way about it, who understand, it's not just about cards, it's about understanding the market process. It's about understanding the production process. It's about knowing, like, your thing well. Like, people who know guitars know them well, right? You see this. Like, you're walking into a gaming store that doesn't sell sports cards. I walked in there with an understanding of that's a sense of community for people, right? We've always done this. People with common interests come together and have this, whatever the thing is that is pulling them in, helps them become friends, helps them have a common relationship of things that they like to do, and they can discuss that. And then, and we notice this, then more personal things come out as you get closer and more about each other personally. So, we weren't designed to be isolated, I don't think. Personally, that's how I feel. And there's not a single card behind me that I could ever just say, this brings me more joy than anything else in life. And that's kind of what it goes back to. The psychology is people. The whole point he was trying to make in the first few chapters I've read is you don't have to be over obsessed, but people use things to replace absences of whatever it might be. One of the examples he used was, or have some kind of common ground. Freud's grandson would play with his shadow when his mother, his teddy bear, until mom came back. It was a coping issue while mom was going to work, right? Another little boy who was paralyzed in like the 40s was stuck in a room. He had nobody really coming to see him a lot, so he got a fish. He could relate to the fish. The fish was stuck too in the tank, but he could watch the fish. So there was some commonality. So we just look for things. I think at the end of the day, it's more about us as people. These are just the mediums we're using to enjoy time with each other. And sometimes you can make money on them, and sometimes you can find something that's shiny and pretty, and we ooh and ah about it, right? and
that's right.
It's just whatever. There's a floating your boat and cranking your tractor in there somewhere.
I got to come up with an Alaskan phrase for that too. I mean, I've got plenty in my bag, and they're just not at the forefront of my mind.
Yeah, there was one I heard this week, and I wanted to use it, and then I forgot.
Oh man, you got to write those things down. Every time we have an episode, there's at least one quote, like the crank your tractor, and I write it down, I say it, and then I tell my friends and family, and then they're like, all right, now it's ingrained in my brain, Well, why don't we wrap it up just real quick? If anybody's got their card, do you have your cards handy at all, Jeremy, that you've got this month?
I've only got one handy. But.
Okay, and Ryan, he's only got a couple handy there, obviously. So let's go to Jeremy first. Jeremy, what's a highlight of over the last couple months here that you picked up?
Biggest highlight.
Oh, here we go. I gotta show this real quick. Thank you for that.
This is one that I picked up recently.
Nice, dude.
One of the jumbos, numbered out of 25.
Sick.
I've always been super pissed that he wasn't involved in the 98 ones, the regular size Cranmer's Choice with all the different colors. So he's at least in the jumbos for 2000. and that's the first one I've been able to track down. Last one I saw sell was probably 2010, 2011.
Was that an eBay purchase, or did you track that down? Oh, it was.
It was on eBay. Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, man. Well, congratulations.
It was at a reasonable buy it now. I sent an offer, and then Will's like, what are you doing?
You click the button, bro.
We'll just see what happens. And so he only knocked off like $20, $25, but it was good enough. So
cool, dude. Congrats. That's awesome, man. How about you, Ryan? What are you showing for June?
I will go quickly. And this is more early July stuff, but I've never purchased a card off of Amazon. That's crazy. This was crazy. This was on Amazon.
Okay.
So the premiere date.
Wow.
And I kind of double think, I was like, is this a ruse? But who would put this on Amazon and try to ruse you? It was actually Wacky's Collectibles, and they have a eBay store, but this wasn't listed on the eBay store. So that was a sweet addition.
We were messaging that it might just be the base, right? And somebody's trying to yank your chain or something.
Yeah. No, this is the opening day issue, not the premiere. But,
okay.
But still, I mean, like, yeah, seriously, I couldn't believe it. So that was a Amazon purchase for a card. So I just thought
everybody in the chat's going to Amazon right now. No way.
I mean, it was, and I thought, it was reasonably priced for what it was. She upped a bit. This was one of the key goals for the year. So 1959, Aaron, PSA 4.
Yeah, dude.
Actually sent Will a couple pictures, and I'm like, I got this 4, and there's another one. They're about the same price, but the color looks so much better on this one. He's like, 100% agree. And then the other one that I was looking at sold like right after this one, so I felt pretty good about that. But
sick, dude. And the colors are so nice and bold and bright.
Yeah, and a lot of times, I'll see if I can get it where I'm not glaring so bad. Like down by his neck, there's a kind of a print, like a print dot. It's on this one, but a lot of these cards I've seen in a 4, the color's really bad. Like in this background, it's kind of speckled, or you'll see like some specks on his face. There's a little bit discoloration on the edge, but this card, when I go vintage, I'm not worried about the grade so much as I am worried about the eye appeal. But this card, the centering, like I'm always interested in finding a decently centered vintage card as I can, and finding the grade that's nice. And this one just has some pretty clean corners on the front. So really happy with it. Like this makes me, if I didn't collect anything else, I think like Aaron is the thing I could do. I could stick with collecting his stuff. He's got over, God knows how many cards, but in his playing days, if you count all the oddball stuff, you're talking 135 cards. Well, it's like from mid 50s to the mid 70s, you got about 300 something cards. But like, I'm not going to buy Con's Wiener box cutout, especially like that one, because they're like $800-900, right? I mean, they're crazy. So I do want to pick up one oddball card of his, but.
Well, that's awesome, dude. I remember when you said that was a goal of yours in your video, your goals video. So that's pretty sick, man. Not gonna lie, I'm not a vintage collector, and by any means. I think my grandfather had a really strong connection to a player, and he like always talked about Jackie, or he always talked about another player. I'd be like, I need to get a card of that, but unfortunately, he did not. So, or fortunately for my wallet, he did not. I'm going to show one really nice one, and I'm going to show one that's just got a beautiful design. We all remember holographics when it came out. 99 was awesome, right? You had the Future Fames, you had all those other like gold parallels, a lot of shine, the launchers, love that. And then the 2000 release, nobody really knows about it because none of the inserts were tough. There were no real parallels. It was just kind of a boring retail release. Well, Hockey, as you guys know, Hockey does an amazing job of bringing some of these designs back. And this is a tribute to the 2000 Future Fame. And that's, in my opinion, this is very Flair showcasey. Yeah. And I always silhouette cards where the picture of the player is different. And both, I mean, that just he's in his newest mask with the new pads, and I don't think a lot of good things when I think of him in Minnesota, but he always looks amazing when he plays. And I just loved the shine and the design of this card. So this is definitely one that I had to highlight. It wasn't very expensive, but it was just beautiful. But then one that I got off my top 5, which is always huge to cross one off that high of the list, is this one from 07-08. trilogy, and it's the personal scripts. He doesn't have very many script cards, but I like those. Again, making the card more personal. You know, he's never signed Flower on any cards except the one that says Flower in the Desert, but he's never just signed Flower. So hopefully we get one of those at some point when he retires or this year. But this was a big one, you know, on card out of 25. You think you'd have maybe seen one by now, and it wasn't even on eBay. It was on Instagram. Somebody named Gabe purchased a collection, and this was in it. And I made a strong offer, and he wanted $15 more to cover shipping, and we agreed to it. So, yeah, very, very happy with this.
What year is that card again?
I believe it's 0708. I could be wrong, but I believe it's 0708 or 0607 trilogy. It could be 0607 just based upon his setup. I would probably think that, but he's got his setup obviously with the yellow pads and the mask that he wore before he won 40 games the next season, which was a bit darker of a mask. But yeah, I just love the personal touch to this, and it's great design. You know, for a product that had no other on-card autos, this one did. So pretty dope.
Is his autograph a little different now? Or
is it a little bit what?
Does it look different than that for some reason?
This part here is usually extended out a little bit further. So he kind of crammed it all the way left. The M is a bit more extended now, and he still does the F like a Z kind of start, and then the 29. It's definitely a little bit different, but it's pretty much the same.
No, I just thought it was cool. I always like seeing just autos that are just a touch off of what you see from the guy. Yeah. It feels a little more unique, and especially with the script, that's sweet.
Oh yeah. I love that he put the little quotations, and he did a great job with that one. He always does. Mark Andre always takes really good care of his autograph, and I've seen pictures from Upper Deck of him signing, and he's just nice and big and bold when he can. So cool. Well, I feel like it's been a really great episode. You know, we've got to talk about where we're at with our goals. Many of us are kind of starting down a new avenue, but we all feel really good about that, or coming back to something that's a little bit outside of the sports realm. Jeremy, I had to make this comment. I need a alligator Loki card. I don't even know if one exists, but that might be one of my favorite Marvel moments other than Black Panther. Jeremy's got another side collection he hasn't really talked about, but were you able to find one of those for that collection?
I did not. I mean, I've seen it. I haven't bought it.
Yeah.
That's one of those things that it's kind of like those might be going by the wayside at some point too.
Right. Every time I go to a little, like if there's one of those displays there, like a Funko display, in Washington, there was 3 of them, and I asked everyone, you got an alligator Loki? I have to get one. Nobody has one. So
I ended up selling off about half of them at one point, and then
did you?
Kept the IPs that I like the most. Nice. But even that, like, they're all just sitting in boxes right now. I don't get them out and flip through them like I do with cards.
Right.
And I don't really
have to be on display, right? You have to.
And then I don't really want to take up all the space to display that much. So that one will probably be something that's going to be like really fine tuned and really nitpicked over, like if I add to it and what's going to stay and what's going to go. So.
Well, hopefully, if we do find an alligator Loki, it would be awesome to be at the National and find like 3 or 4 of them, right? And everybody go home with one. That was one of my favorite moments.
So Jeremy's Funko is a purist part of his hobby mindset.
There we go. Ryan looked up the chart. Yes, that's great, man. That's great. Well,
so no home run derby. We ran out of time, huh?
No, we got to do it right now. Let's go. Let's pick them. All right. So we've got. I need to pull up the bracket. Anybody that's watching right now, who is your pick? Thank you for the reminder about that. Do we have the bracket here to look at on the website?
Right here. You don't want to get into StatCast and all that?
Okay, no, we can't go that deep. Not this time.
I just went with my gut. I went with my gut.
There you go. All right, here's the bracket. I got it pulled up on the other screen. Oh, yep, good. Take me to another window where it's gonna. Yep, that's about right. Okay, so we have got Alonso versus Julio on the right side, which is going to be a really good matchup because I think, in my opinion, Pete Alonso was built for the home run derby. Yeah. So here you go, right here. And then we've got Mookie Betts against Vlad Guerrero Jr. And then on the other side, Luis Robert, who is on fire right now. We're not a very good team, but he's on fire. And Adley Rutschman, who has had a really solid season, his first full season. And then we've got Garcia for Texas, who hits a lot of home runs, and Randy Arozarena. So it's in Seattle. Easy pick for me. I would love. He was so close last year; he just ran out of steam. But Julio, I would love to see him get his swing back and win this whole thing in front of his home crowd. I think that's the easy pick and my pick. So
yeah, I think that's a tough first matchup, though.
Yeah.
he did it last year. He beat him last year.
Yeah, that's
You can do
true.
it again. You can do it again, man. You never know. He's got the right swing. He's at home. Like, let's go. What do you think, Ryan? Who's your pick based upon your statistics in front of you?
Okay, so you're gonna love this. First of all, everybody up there, with the exception of Rutschman, but it's kind of an asterisk. They're all righties. Rutschman's a switch hitter, but he's hit more home runs from the left side this year. So it's interesting. He'll probably hit left-handed. It won't matter because he's going to get beat by Luis. But I've got, funny enough, I've got Rodriguez, and I've got I guess I've got they're coming. I thought I got the bracket wrong apparently.
I think Garcia could give him a pretty good run over there on the left.
Well, I had this set up. I did it based off of, but I didn't have the bracket. I had Vlad coming from the other side. So,
Gotcha.
yeah. So
you think Vlad Julio will be in the semifinals?
I'm gonna pick Vlad, and I'll tell you why I'm gonna pick Vlad. The dude in Cleveland, he went out of his mind. It's just, Petey went out of his mind too. So.
Yeah.
The way it's set up here, because I had looked at a bracket that it was set up, I thought they were coming to meet in the final. I guess I got Guerrero now going up against, and I think I had Luis going the deepest. But okay. Garcia could be a dark horse. It's just stamina, man. I hope they put the balls in the humidor and they wind them tight and they let them fly, because balls do not go it's not hit caught there. So.
I am very well aware of that, and they've brought the fences in. Jeremy, remember that? Like in those really bad years with Ichiro on the team, they had to bring the fences in like 15 feet because nobody could hit any home runs. It was awful. It's awful. All right, yeah. Jeremy. I think you and I both are in the same boat. It'd be great to watch Julio win it. That's a no-brainer.
That would be best case scenario. I think it would be probably Robert and Guerrero in the final.
Right.
And then probably Guerrero winning.
Okay. And he won it. Did he win it a couple years back?
No, he lost to Alonso in the final. But he hit the most, right. And he's hit the most in like round wise.
He's just got a perfect swing for that. I can't see Mookie doing well just based upon the way that he hits. But
so what's crazy about it, if you look at things like, because when they talk about home runs, and of course you're talking about live pitching versus BP pitching, right? But hard hit combined with launch angle is technically what equals a home run physics wise. So anything between 8 to 32 degree launch angle and any balls hit harder than 95 miles per hour. Vlad Guerrero has the second most hard hit balls in the league this year, 152, right behind Acuna. So if the guy just elevates more, and he does, they're going to do it in this, right? So now, granted, the ball's not coming in there at 95,
right?
So they've got to create more bat speed so they get wore out a little faster. But I just don't see. I think Garcia could get in there. I just think he's too old.
Okay.
30 versus a 24, 25-year-old. Yeah. No, but I mean, if it's Vlad and Julio though in the semis,
that would be great.
That's going to be a great matchup. But it's just crazy that those two guys, the two youngest guys, have the lowest launch angles of all those guys. And the reason Mookie's hit 25 bombs is the launch angle is the highest right now. It's at 19 degrees.
Yeah, I agree. Exactly. Yep. And then Mookie has, he's such a line drive hitter. But then again, remember King Griffey Jr. said, I'm a line drive hitter, and he figured it out. I hope you're wrong, pal. Yeah. I hope you're wrong. Loses. All right. Well, we're going to sign off. We'll see you in, 2 weeks, fellas? We'll see everybody in 2 weeks. We're going to do like all pre-national show. We're going to have Chris Spence on here as well. That's Will's brother. His first nationals coming up. So it's going to be great to hear his thoughts and these brand new, fresh eyes, never been there. And then Jeremy and Will are going to be there for the third time. I will be going for the second time. So yeah, we're all pretty jazzed up about it. But we'll see you then. Ryan, Jeremy, thank you for your time. Hope you guys have a great night and great weekend, and we'll catch you guys in 2 weeks. See ya.
See ya.
Yeah.